Amateur Radio News and Notes for Friday, June 12th, 2026. I'm Ed Kabik, November 2 Echo Charlie. In the log this week, we have a contest spotlight for the ARRL VHF contest. We'll also talk about some MVARC Nets on the air, see what's happening with DX, get a solar activity update, talk about some upcoming contests, and take a look at interesting online radio content. As always, links to all reference content can be found in the show notes or at our Substack at mvarc.substack.com. This weekend brings the June 2026 edition of the ARRL VHF contest. The stated objective of this contest is to work as many amateur radio stations in as many 2 degree by 1 degree Maidenhead grid squares as possible using frequencies above 50 megahertz. Stations outside the U.S. and Canada may only work stations in the U.S. and Canada. The contest starts on Saturday at 1800 UTC, that's 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, and goes until 2:59 UTC on Monday, that's 10:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday night. Operators can work stations on any band above 50 megahertz with any mode, and each station can be worked once per band. Operating categories include single operator at both high and low power, single operator portable, single operator with 3 bands, single operator FM only, rover in classic limited and unlimited varieties, and multi-operator limited and unlimited. You'll want to check out the rules for the details on each category. The exchange is the 4-digit Maidenhead grid square locator, so for me in Virginia, I'm FM 18. For scoring, each QSO counts for 1 point on 6 and 2 meters, 2 points on 1.25 meters and 70 centimeters, 3 points on 33 and 22 centimeters, and 4 points for 2.3 gigahertz contacts. No repeaters or digipeaters may be used. Logs must be submitted within 10 days of the contest at contest-log-submission.arrl.org. Online certificates will be available to all participants, and awards will be given to top operators in each category. This promises to be a fun and challenging contest, and with the 6-meter band having had some openings in the past week, there may be some opportunities to experience some of the magic of the Magic Band this weekend. Full rules and information can be found at arrl.org/June-VHF. Good luck. And now let's take a look at some MVARC Nets on the air. We have our 2-meter FM net on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the repeater, and that is immediately followed by the digital net on Yaesu System Fusion C4 FM on the same frequency. And then on the weekends, we've got the MVARC Slow Speed CW Roundtable Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. on 3.565 megahertz CW, and the MVARC Cherry Tree Net on Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on 3.920 megahertz lower sideband, where we always have a great conversation, and you're always welcome to join us. And now let's take a look at what is happening with DX. There'll be a lot of DX on the air this week. Stations on the air include Kenya, French Polynesia, Namibia, Palau, Lord Howe Island, Tanzania, Rwanda, Maldives, St. Martin, Cape Verde Island, and Curacao. A calendar of DX expeditions can be found at NG3K's announced DX operations list at ng3k.com. And now it's time for a solar activity update as we go to press. The Solar Flux Index, or SFI, was 124, and the estimated sunspot number was 114, with 5 numbered sunspot regions visible from Earth. Over the last week, the SFI has decreased. Solar activity has been at low levels in the last 24 hours, and the geomagnetic field has been at quiet to minor storm levels in the last 24 hours, with a KP index reached 5 yesterday. The solar wind peaked at 505 kilometers a second. Solar activity is predicted to be at low levels with a chance of M-class flares and a slight chance of X-class flares today through Sunday. The geomagnetic field is forecast to be at quiet to minor storm levels today and at unsettled to major storm levels on Saturday and unsettled to minor storm levels on Sunday. The chance of solar radiation storms at the S1 or greater level is at 5% today through Sunday. R1 to R2 radio blackouts are likely, with a predicted probability of 45% today through Sunday. R3 or greater blackouts are possible, with a chance of 10% predicted today through Sunday. It remains a fantastic time for amateurs to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. A good overview of conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. To see delayer absorption data and associated radio blackouts, visit the NOAA DRAP page. And to see real-time maximum usable frequency, or MUF, and critical frequency, or FOF2 information from RadioSON data, visit prop.kc2g.com. Now let's take a look at some upcoming contests. This weekend brings the ARRL VHF contest we spotlighted earlier, as well as the PVRC reunion, the YBORARI DX contest, the Asia Pacific Sprint on single sideband, the SKCC Weekend Sprintathon, the Portugal Day contest, the AGCW VHF UHF contest, the REF DDFM 6-meter contest, the GACW WWSA CWDX contest, and the 4 States QRP Second Sunday Sprint. As always, the K1USN SSTs, the MSTs, and the CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And finally, let's wrap things up with some interesting online radio content. As always, links to everything we're about to mention here are in the show notes and also at our Substack at mvarc.substack.com. Mark KD7 DTS and Aura N6 ARA talk with Tim N7 KOM about soda, the Brass Knuckle Gang, and more on Sofas on the Air. Jim WT1W shows the open source Ether SDR software for Flex radios. Chris KL9A gives an aerial tour of the KM7W antenna farm. Kevin KB9RLW looks at an electromagnetic radiation meter. Callum M0MCX talks coax performance. Telecom Training discusses 5/8 wave antenna performance. Walt K4OGO advocates for more experimenters in radio. Tim N7KOM does soda from South America. The History Archive talks about Morse code history. Mike K8MRD shows a 3D printed weather-resistant case for the PAC-10. George VK2AOE builds an antenna for his school club. Bobby W6IWN uses the Mercury Light 500-watt amplifier for POTA. Walt K4OGO takes us on the USS Wisconsin to learn about the ship and to activate museum ships on the air. Kevin 2E0 Whiskey Mike Golf takes us along for some kayak portable operation. Takeshi JS1QIZ takes us into the wilderness for camping and QRP in Japan. Hayden VK7HH and Steve KM9G talk about a new board to work digital with the Xiegu G90. Veritasium talks about the discovery of a satellite jamming GPS signals over Europe. And Josh KI6NAZ activates Pikes Peak on VHF for soda. Well, that is it for this week. I've been Ed, November 2, Echo Charlie. Thanks, as always, for joining us. We hope you have a great week ahead. Best 73, and we look forward to seeing you next week.